Hey everybody, Dr. Heldman here, Tech Talk Education. How the heck are you doing this fine day? Beautiful spring day out there. So in this video, what I want to do is show you how to duplicate one of your VMs in your Linux cluster node environment so that you can add another VM to the cluster mix. So it's not super difficult. Let's get started. Okay, so first of all, you can see that I'm in Oracle VirtualBox Manager here, and you can see all of the machines that we have created so far. So I have a compute node 1, 2, and I'm going to get rid of this 3 here because I was practicing doing this so I could show that to you. This is what your environment looks like right now. You have pfSense, you have master node, compute node 1, and compute node 2. Now what we want to do is we don't really want to clone master node because it's got everything running the way that we want it to, and it has more stuff that we're using. But we do want to go ahead and we can do what's called cloning one of these compute nodes. Either one's going to work. They're both playing in the sandbox very nicely with the cluster infrastructure. So I'm just going to pick one of these. I'm going to pick compute node 1 here. This is right off of the VirtualBox manager here, and I'm going to right click this and select this option here, clone. Now notice it's also a Control O, so either way will work for you. So we clone this. Now one of the things you want to notice is that on the top here it says, oh, I'm cluster environment compute node 1 clone. Well, we don't want it to be a clone. What we want this to do is we want this to be compute node 3. And then we're going to put it in the path VirtualBox VMs. I'm going to select other here, and I've got my VirtualBox VMs. Here they all are, and I'm going to put this in the Linux cluster server class. I'm going to create a brand new folder for it called Debian 12, being very deliberate here in how I keep track of these things, because if you didn't at some point you'd get really confused. There's a lot to be confused about. So I'll select that folder. We're going to do a full clone, and then we're just going to click finish. Now we're not done, because when this thing comes up, what it's going to do is it's going to adopt the properties of compute node 1 here. So it's going to come across with all of compute node 1's features, which for the most part is fine. But there are some things that we have to alter before we can begin to use it as a compute node. Also, if you'll notice on the right-hand pane here, it says it's copying the machine, and that is going to take a minute or two. It takes a little bit for it to copy everything across to a new VM. So I'm going to put the movie on hold and come back to you when it's all done doing what it's doing. All right, we're all done. That took 2 or 3 minutes. It's not a big, long deal, but you do have to just wait it out because it's making a full cloning copy of one of your VMs. And you can see here I kept the label Debian 12 for Linux cluster node environment, compute node 3. Now what we have to do is go in and make a couple of changes. So I will briefly look at the settings. There's really nothing here that needs change per se. It kept the title here. Under advanced, it kept bidirectional. We look and see that the boot is correct. We've given it 2 gig of RAM. Everything looks good here. You could check processor and make sure that enable PAE NX and enable nested VT, if you have that, is enabled. And everything looks good here. So there's no problem here. We're going to go into the cluster server internal network name that we created earlier, way long ago in a series of movies a little while ago. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start this. Now this is where we have to make some changes. So this will take a minute to start. I'll put you on hold once that's done running. Alright, so we're up and running here. I'll go ahead and log on. It's going to take your normal logon information because it's picking it up from the previous cluster node, but you're going to notice also that it picks up the background environment from compute node 1, which is not what we want. So what I'm going to do is take and drag this over. I happen to have it in my file here. I'll drag this. I've prepared a new one here. I'll copy that over. Copying and pasting is working just fine. Why? Because we had enabled that in the original compute node, so that's perfect. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to copy this guy here over to an area where we can use it. Now, if I bring up the file system, you'll notice here that under Bill, I have a folder called Backgrounds. That's where I put this initial one. So let's put it there. That's totally fine. So the path is Home Bill Backgrounds. I'll close this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move MV. We'll do a / desktop / compute node 3.png to / and then that is my home, and then the folder is called Backgrounds. Boom, like that. Let's see what we've got here. Not sure why this is needing sudo, but let's try sudo, see if this looks correct. So we're telling it that we want it to move desktop, which is correct, compute node 3. That's the location of this particular file right here. And then we want to move it to home, which would be / and that's going to say home bill right after this, and then / backgrounds. I don't know if I need the ending / on it or not. I don't think that I do. I'll put a sudo in here. Let's see if this will help me do this. Type in my password and hit enter. Boom, it disappeared. And then if I open the File Explorer, I'm just doing it because it's easier to see this way. There they are right there. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to get rid of the old Compute Node 1. I'll get rid of that in a minute, but I want to use Compute Node 3 first. So I'll right-click the desktop, select Desktop Settings, grab Compute Node 3, and click Close. I'll also bring over the file system here, Bill, Backgrounds, and I'll just do a Shift-Delete. This is the same key that you use in Windows to get rid of something. I love it because it doesn't put anything in the recycle bin, because I don't care about the recycle bin normally. A lot of users do, but I don't use that very often, so I'll hit enter to delete that. And I will, let's see, I have to have sudo permissions to get rid of that. That's okay, I'll leave it sitting there then. Alright, so we've got that done. Now the next thing that we have to do is we have to actually go in and alter some things. So right now, if you type in host name here, it's going to tell you that up here is Compute Node 1. Here it says I'm Compute Node 1. In my prompt it says Compute Node 1. Not really where we want it to be. So what we're going to do is Nano, go into Nano and adjust that. So we have to go into a file. We're actually going to go into 3 files to make the changes that we need. So we're going to cd into /etc /hostname. So I'm going to do a sudo. I will do a sudo nano /etc /hostname. And we'll just adjust that to a 3, Control O, and enter to write, Control X. Now what we want to do is we also have to edit hosts. So I'll do a sudo nano /etc /hosts, like that. And you can see that it's got all these in here right now. Compute Node 1 is 1.3. Compute Node 2 is 1.4. We're going to make Compute Node 3 1.5. It could get a little heavy keeping up with it, I guess, but we're going to put in 192.168 1.5 Compute Node 3. Now that doesn't exist yet. We have to go fix this particular node so that we know about this particular IP address. Everything we're going to do in the Linux cluster environment, we're not going to rely on DHCP, because if for whatever reason it tried to renegotiate the lease and could not get it through DHCP, then we'd be out one node. We'd really have to go into a lot of trouble to try and find that. You're better off going with static IP addresses when you're working with stuff like this. So I'm going to do a Control O and enter, and Control X. Okay, so we've got that. Now what we have to do is we have to go in and edit network interfaces. So we say sudo nano /etc /network, and the file is called interfaces. And because we were using the one from Compute Node 1, it picked up the IP address for Compute Node 1, which is not what we want, but we can keep everything else here. Everything else is fine. It's just that now we want to change this to a 1.5. So I will do a Control O and enter, and Control X. Next, what you want to do is you want to reboot the machine. So I'll just do a sudo reboot and hit enter. And once it's back up and running, I'll come back to you and talk to you about what's happening here. Okay, we're back up and running, and at the top of the window here, you can see here where it says Compute Node 3. That's a great thing because it did pick up our new host name. I'll log in here. The login credentials aren't going to change because all you've done is modify the host name and the IP address, but we want to make sure that we have the actual valid IP address. So I will bring up the terminal window here, run it down on here so it's easier to see inside this window, clear the screen, and I will do an IPA, and let's make sure that we did pick up 1524. That's very good. So what we've done is we've changed it to static 192.168.1.5 with a 255.255.255.0 subnet mask. That's what this /24 means. This is a common internet domain routing thing that's denoting that we have a 24-bit subnet mask, which is all perfectly fine. This is all normal. And so that looks good. So let's see if we can ping some hosts. So I'll start by pinging pfSense. I'm going to ping them by name, Control C, because I just want to see if I can hit them by name. So compute node 1. That's good. That responds. Compute node 2. Oh, I don't have it running, so that's why it's not responding. And then compute node 3. Okay, everything looks good. So now what you would have is when you're going to come in of a day and you're going to work with a cluster environment, you'll need to start pfSense first, then cluster node 1, 2, and 3. They'll all be running simultaneously. You can go back to a master node and you can try running your code. So it's just a real quick and easy way to duplicate an already correctly running VM that you can use inside your cluster environment, and you just have to make a few little adjustments here to get things working. Hope you enjoyed this movie. We're going to take this just a tiny bit further. We're going to start talking about a very, very important topic called DevOps, in which we're going to use we can use Docker, and we can try using Kubernetes. So there are ways that we can do this kind of work. If we had, say, 1,000 of these nodes to do this to, maybe that would be a better environment for us. But first things first, next we want to understand how to use Docker, and then from there we'll see where we go. Hope you enjoyed watching this movie. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Your comments are welcome. Thank you for hanging with me, and I will talk to you in the next video. Have a great day.